Greetings, every peoples! This is your cult of personality, ToonKriticY2K's name tunes are the name of my game, and welcome to the Sketchpad, my little interview show that I have not done in quite a while. But maybe there's a reason for that, because I have here today a huge guest. I'm not going to be interviewing somebody, that's on YouTube. I'm going straight for the big leagues. I am going for Miss Maryke Hendrikse, the voice of Gilda and Sonata.
Hi!
First off, I just want to say it is a huge honor to get this chance to interview you. I was almost not expecting this to happen, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and nice to meet you, Zach, and thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, it is my honor. What got you into doing voice acting, and how long have you been doing it?
I did a little tiny bit of VO work, not a lot, but just a dabble here and there when I was a teenager, and then I had wanted to kind of get into doing animation work. And I knew it was a part of the business that you could work in. I was already acting professionally and had been for some time. And I had said to my agents, not my current agents, but a previous agent, that I'd like to do voiceover and I'd love to do cartoons. And they were kind of like, yeah, it's really hard to get into that aspect of the industry. And they kind of didn't really do much with it. So I then was doing a play where I had to cry like a baby on the stage. It was like a whole conceptualized scene where my character was being taken away as a newborn in a basket, and so obviously I'm not, as an adult, going to fit into the basket, so they decided to have me just doing the vocalizations of the baby. And my agents came to see the play and came backstage afterwards, and the first thing they said to me was, oh my God, that baby cry was so realistic. We have to get you doing voiceover. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yes, I would like to do that. So
that seems like a good start.
Yeah, it was a good start. And then I took a workshop with a casting director. My agent sent me over. It was a gift from the casting directors to all the agencies in town, and they were able to choose one guy and one girl to go take this workshop for free. So I was the person chosen for my agency, and I went over and did that workshop. And I guess the casting directors heard something that they thought was pretty okay. I had something there that they were interested in, and so they started calling me in for stuff, and that's how that all started. So, and I've been doing it. I only work in voiceover now, and that's been 10 years that I've only worked in voiceover, but I've probably been doing voiceover for about 17 or 18 years, I think, at this point.
Would you want to get, back into, live action sort of stuff?
I'm not interested in film and television at the moment, but I always loved theater, and always have loved theater. So that would be something that I would certainly consider doing. It's not something I'm pursuing, but it's always kind of in the back of my mind. Being on stage is really fun. So, yeah, you never know. I might do that sooner than later.
What do you do to get, recharged? How do you, find inspiration?
If anybody is listening that follows me on Twitter knows that I'm an obsessive sports fan, and my biggest obsession is the Toronto Raptors basketball team.
Nice.
I spend a long time, however many games a week, 82 games in a season. I watch every single game. I am a big baseball fan. I love the Toronto Blue Jays. It's my hometown is Toronto. And I watch a lot of Blue Jays games when I can. I like to read. I like to cook. I love dancing. I actually studied dance pretty extensively as a child and teenager. I went to professional ballet school, and so I still dance. I actually just came home from dance class, and I'm currently icing my knee. So those are some of the things I do to pass time. I like watching TV and movies too. I like going to the movies, and television has really upped its ante. Dramatic television has really upped its ante over the last couple of years, and there's some really good shows on TV. So I watch a little TV and go to the movies a little bit. So
I think it's always great to have a lot of hobbies. It's always good to know what I guess the big people what they do for fun, because it makes them feel, a lot more casual in a sense. It doesn't make them look like as the huge almighty people we have shrines for.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of thing, as an actor, as a professional actor. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I won't speak for anybody else, but I'm just normal. I'm just just like anybody else. I have things that I really enjoy too. Like people who watch My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, really like the show. And I have things in my life like that too, like the Toronto Raptors. I'm a fan of them, so I get that whole thing. But yeah, we're all mostly pretty similar when it comes down to it.
All right, so this is a fan question that I got from one of my good fans.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have the chance to revoice a character from a Disney movie, who would you pick?
I loved The Little Mermaid. I loved that movie. So I know it's probably maybe not something that everybody would be like, wow, that's such an amazing answer. But I loved that movie, so I'd love to do it. I love there to be like an incarnation of the Wonder Twins, and I could play the girl Wonder Twin. And I know there was something else I was thinking of, but anyways, I won't think about that for 10 minutes and waste time. But yeah, those would be two things that I'd really, really enjoy doing. There was a movie that was just released this past year, Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of characters in there I really liked, and I'd love to, have been given the opportunity to play one of those, or the privilege of playing one of those roles. That would have been cool, some of the girls.
Do you prefer working in a studio with other voice actors/actresses? Oh, sorry, actresses. How did I screw that up? Sorry. Or one-on-one with the director?
I like working as a group. I do like working individually with a director. Like when you're doing dubbing, that's how you work. You're in front of the microphone with the screen and the picture in front of you and your script, obviously. And then the director's on the other side of the glass and the engineer. And I really like that way of working. But there's something to be said about working in a group and the group dynamics and the energy that flows from person to person. It's also really great as an actor to be able to respond to something that someone has actually said to you rather than guessing what they might have said and how they might have said it and responding in kind. So when it's like it becomes a conversation rather than a monologue. And I really like that. And I think probably quite a few actors would agree with me. It's also tons of fun. And, you get off into laughing fits sometimes when someone does something particularly hilariously brilliant. Yeah. So I like that. I like that group dynamic.
I think it's a great dynamic, too. I love working in groups with, voice acting and whatnot. I mean, it's fun to do things on your own, but I don't think anything beats working together with, 3 other people, in a room.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
How long did it take you to perfect your range in terms of characters you've played? You went from Revy in Black Lagoon to Gilda and Sonata and Friendship is Magic. You've been, all over the place, I would think.
Yeah, it is a work in progress. I have to say, there's a show that's airing right now that's a new show airing called Kate and Mim Mim, and it's a preschool show. It's really great. Really funny and cute, adorable characters and really nice storylines and stuff. And I play Kate, and I play a little boy named Boomer. So, now that I answered the question about how long I've been voice acting, this is the first time that I've ever played a boy in a cartoon. That took me that long to actually figure out how to do it and do it well enough that I was castable rather than going into an audition and just sort of being trying something and them saying to me, yeah, Maryke, that actually just sounds like a girl. So... I don't think there's ever any such thing as perfect. Within the character that you're playing in the moment, you can certainly be giving what is in the minds of the creator and director and client, and so you can get it precisely to where they want it to be. But as an actor and as an artist, I just don't think that there's any such thing as perfect, and there's always something new to learn and to strive for and new ways to develop. And as I get older, too, my voice will change a little, I think. Not significantly. Men's voices obviously change a lot during puberty, and girls don't really change that much. But, I'll probably get a little bit more depth to my voice, and then there'll be some characters that I could play that more easily that I don't play as well now just because of the sound of it.
When I used to do, a bit of voice acting, on the side, and my voice was, a lot higher pitched. So that made things easier. But then... kind of went down a little bit, so I had to up my game, and I think it's actually really helped because there's all sorts of new things,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Once you figure out a new kind of range, a new grouping of characters that you now feel more comfortable doing.
I'm guessing we already did the how did you make the leap to professional acting question, because
not really. That was about we talked about how I went into voice acting. but I'd been acting for a number of years professionally before I did VO. Oh, well, how about this? I'll tell you a little brief little. I'd wanted to be a performer from the time I was 5, and I had a big focus on dance. Was kind of the thing that I loved, but I always dabbled in, a little bit of theater and plays and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid and as a young teenager. And then when I was at professional ballet school, my teachers kind of said to me, you're not going to be a principal dancer. You're not going to be a prima ballerina. You just don't have the physical attributes and enough talent to be a principal dancer. And we think that you've got enough kind of performance ability and that you should look at acting professionally. And so it was like just a little push in that direction that I needed a little bit of encouragement to do the thing that I'd really enjoyed for such a long time. So that's kind of how I did it. I got an agent. I went out and did my headshots and put together a little resume and sent out my all that stuff to different agents, and I was lucky enough to get an agent, and then I was even luckier to start to book stuff kind of right off the bat. So that was my professional acting introduction.
All right. So that kind of ties in neatly with what I was going to ask next. What kind of acting training did you receive?
None.
Really?
Yep. As a ballet student, we had a youth performing company at my ballet school, and I was really lucky to be part of that. And you learn a lot about professional etiquette, how to behave, how to rehearse, how to get things the way that you need them to be in order for you to be at your best. So I had a lot of kind of introduction to how to be a professional. But I'd never taken any acting classes before other than drama at high school. I think I did one semester when I was in 9th grade of acting classes. But I kind of look at my career as an apprenticeship. I was really lucky because I worked so kind of regularly that I was on set or in a rehearsal hall and on stage or in front of the microphone when I started doing VO. And I was able to kind of learn as I was doing it. And people were really patient and really nurturing with me and gave me a lot of... If you listen and watch, you can learn a ton. And by watching and listening to my fellow performers, I learned a ton of stuff. And because I worked with such great directors, I had a lot of guidance. But formal training, I've taken about maybe 3 workshops in my life. That's it.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, it was also really self-taught as well. I had little to no experience with working with videos and whatnot, and with voice acting and with just reviewing. I taught myself all this, and I got inspired by a lot of people. I really had no basic college training on writing or advanced voice acting workshops or anything. I just said, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just run with it.
Yeah, see what happens. And some people, Zach, that's the thing. I guess you have to find what works for you. That would make other people, who would take the way that you and I did it, it would make them super nervous. Well, so then I'd say that's not the right way for those people to go. They'd feel more comfortable just doing it differently. It takes a different, different personalities and different styles of learning.
So now let's jump into some of the work that you've done.
What
was your experience working on Black Lagoon? When I mentioned that, if I may say, when I mentioned that I was going to be interviewing you and I was talking about with some of my friends, they constantly kept talking about your work with Black Lagoon. And I know this interview is PG, so I'll just ask, what was your experience working on it?
Yeah, we won't be talking like Revy here. It's my favorite project of my entire career. So run the gamut from film and television and whatever else, and theater and voiceover. It is my favorite project that I've ever done. Loved the whole experience. The character was so rewarding to play, and working with James Corrigal, who's the voice director, was just amazing. The the plot line, the actual show, it's the only show that I've done that I've watched every episode of. And it's not because I'm in it. It's because I thought the show was so amazing. Beautifully animated. So the whole thing was just a real highlight for me, a real pleasure to have worked on. And again, to play a girl, because she's not really a woman, she's probably in her late teens is kind of what we've all figured out. But to play a girl like that, you don't get that opportunity very much as a woman. And I was really grateful to be able to have that opportunity. Hopefully it's not the last time in my career, but at least once in my career.
And now we now we jump from Black Lagoon to Friendship is Magic, which is, I think, a very interesting transition because, if I may say, I find that Revy and Gilda, I think that Gilda is more of the PG filtered version.
For sure. Yep.
So, how did you come up with the voice for Gilda and Sonata, and did you have any other ways you wanted to try voicing them?
Yeah, so in the audition for Gilda, I base, when I approach a character from the aspect of personality, not from the aspect of sound. So what I do is I create a character. How do they feel about the world? How do they believe the world treats them? What kind of situations makes them happy? What makes them sad? What makes them afraid, angry, whatever? All those kinds of things. I think about those kinds of things before I start, and you get a good clue about that kind of stuff from the sides that they give you. So then you get an idea of characterization, and then going into the studio to do my audition, I listened to the direction that was given to me in the actual audition. They wanted her to sound a bit more growly, like a lion, because that's really kind of part of her. What's the word I'm looking for?
Species.
Thank you. There you go.
There we go.
It's her species, right? She's half eagle, half lion. So they wanted a little bit more growl in the actual voice, and so I did a little bit more of that, and that was enough for them, and they liked that for the character. When we went to recording, I actually was trying to make her. I actually had a younger sound for her in a way, but that was actually bumping up against the sound that Ashley Ball was doing for Rainbow Dash. So I had to drop my pitch, and she had to keep consistent up in a higher range so that we didn't bump up against each other, and so that people would be able to hear the difference between the two characters. So that was kind of how that was. And then for Sonata, when I went in for the audition, I had prepared her to be fairly clueless, but they really wanted her to be super clueless, like super, like what? Huh? Like, so just absolutely oblivious about what was happening. So that was kind of the adjustments that I made in the audition for that, and then we further refined it in the actual recording session.
So, are you aware of how big Gilda and Sonata have gotten online in the Brony fandom?
I know a little bit about Sonata because people have been, like, the whole Taco Tuesday thing seems to be a pretty big deal, and it seems like she's the person who's come out of the movie that people have a little soft spot for her, so I've heard a little bit about that. And I know Gilda, I didn't know whether the show, because obviously this was in season 1, right? So it hadn't aired when I was in the studio recording my episode of Gilda. So I had no idea how the show was going to be received. But I kind of knew that it was at least going to cause a little bit of a commotion. Knowing what the general theme of the show was, to have this person coming in and just like absolutely, like a bull in a china shop, just like knocking people and things all over the place, that I figured it might kind of be like something at least that people would talk about if the show was successful. And I know that she is a kind of polarizing, like people hate her or love her. And, I don't blame you for either opinion, that's for sure.
No, Gilda is one of my favorite characters in the show. I wouldn't even consider her like a villain, more like sort of, I guess, just antagonist, I think, is the only word that fits, because she's not a villain and she's certainly not like a good person. What I meant to say was that the previous question, how did you come up with the voice for Gilda and Sonata, that was asked by one of my actually best friends in the reviewing community, Voice of Reason, who is the hugest Gilda fan that I know of.
Oh, very nice.
So
Thanks, whoever you are, on behalf of Gilda.
Yeah. This is actually just a real quick bonus question. Did you ever expect the Brony fandom to be, like, this big, to where, like, you're being invited to a Brony convention? People who like My Little Pony, it was big enough to actually get, like, a convention.
No, I didn't expect that. I mean, I've been to other conventions before for different anime stuff, and it doesn't necessarily surprise me, because honestly, it's hard to predict as an actor who just participates in the first part of the process, right, which is the recording part. You can never tell. Like, I've been on shows before where I thought, this is going to go forever. It's going to be like 25 seasons, and it's going to be so great, and it didn't even have a second season. And then there's other shows where you're like, wow, that is the one that's going for 4 seasons or 3 or whatever. so I wasn't surprised necessarily to hear how popular it was, but it's interesting to me because of how many incarnations of My Little Pony there has been, and how they were able to come up with an incarnation that resonated so strongly with people. That's kind of interesting to me. I try to explain it to people because I have a lot of friends who are not actors, and so when I explain, like, you're going to wear for what, when they're saying to me, and I kind of say it's kind of like Star Trek. It's kind of like that. And people know what Star Trek conventions are, right? Like, the general public knows what a Star Trek convention is.
Yeah,
and if you kind of explain it to people a little bit like that, they get it a little bit more. Oh, okay. Anyway, so...
have you seen fan art of the characters you have played? And if so, do you have, like, any, personal favorites? Like, have people have come up to you, like, in the autograph line to say, hey, I had this fan art of, like, the character that you've made. What do you think?
I have seen a ton of fan art, and honestly, I'm kind of amazed every single time of how creative and, like, just amazing these people are. Such talent, so much talent, like, stuff that they have more talent in their baby finger than I have in my entire body. It's just amazing the stuff they come up with. There is, honestly, my favorite little piece of fan art that I've pretty much ever seen. Someone tweeted it to me one day. And the person's name is like Doom, like D-O-U-M, and then dash. And this is an interesting word, so, I didn't make it up. It's Doom dash hentai. 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 But that's not what her post is. I don't know why her post is this. I don't know why her name is this. It's the cutest little picture of a little Sonata, cartoon little Sonata, sitting on top of Flufflepuff, and they're eating tacos together, and it's seriously the cutest thing I've ever seen. So that's kind of
I've seen that.
But so much of the stuff I see is amazing. I feel even bad saying that was my favorite, but honestly, that thing did make me kind of go, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Anyway.
So is there anyone you enjoy working with in the voice acting business, whether it be like a director or someone that you share like the booth with?
I dislike them all. They're a pain in my butt. No. I like, honestly, this is going to sound like Maryke, you cop out so much. I kind of like working with everybody. Honestly, everybody brings something different and different personalities and then different characters that they're playing. I really like working with pretty much everybody. Trying to think of who, like, there's a couple of people that really make me laugh. There's a couple of people who, when I watch them work, I'm just, mind-boggled by how good they are. Tabitha St. Germain is somebody who I can't believe it. Every time she does something, she's just so fabulous. I really like working with Erin Matthews because she and I always laugh about stuff. Those are some examples of people I enjoy working with. But yeah, really and truly, I don't really have any favorites. I just like working with everybody. I think a lot of people would say the same thing. Voice actors are a pretty nice, normal, kind of easygoing, relaxed bunch.
This next question comes from my good friend DeWilstonator.
Cool.
How has voice acting changed or enriched your life as both an actress and as a person?
It's enriched my life as an actor because when you're doing live action, be it theater or film and television, I don't have the opportunity, unless it's in cartoons, to play a 12-year-old girl. I don't have the opportunity to play a griffin. I don't have the opportunity to play a 3-year-old boy. But I do in cartoons. And that has just sort of enriched my life as an actor because it's the same process. I still come at every person I'm playing from a character kind of perspective, but you get the opportunity to have a broad range of people that you're playing rather than what I would look like. So I'd be playing kind of what I looked like if I was in film or doing film or theater. And that, kind of narrows the range of things that you're doing for practical reasons. And as far as my life, I guess you could ask probably a lot of actors and other people who do kind of intense things for work. I would not want to do anything else. And my work is so meaningful to me that when I've been through dry spells, I had about 5 years, a long time ago, in the middle of my career where I couldn't get a job. I just couldn't book anything. I kept auditioning, and I couldn't book anything. And I can tell you, it was pretty miserable. It was a pretty miserable time. A lot of my satisfaction in my life comes from the kind of work that I do. So that's how it enriches my life. It's meaningful. It's very, very meaningful work for me. as a person.
That's pretty good, actually. I guess it's kind of the same way where I've done my own work, whether it be writing or reviewing or voice acting or just any of those things. I honestly couldn't imagine doing doing my life without it. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
All right,
And a lot of artists and creative people will say the same thing.
They would, I think. So, is there any role in particular you wanted to have but didn't get?
Well, honestly, I kind of played my dream role, and when I played Revy, that's to me like kind of the dream part, my part of my favorite part in my life. A lot of times I go, audition for stuff, and I really would love to play the part, and most of the time I don't get them. It's not like I book everything I audition for. That's for sure. Let me see. What would I can't think of anything off the. I can't really think of anything that has super disappointed me where I was like, I can't believe I didn't get that part. I'm so mad. Or I'm so disappointed. You're sort of marginally disappointed because you would have really liked to have done the work, but most of the time I audition for stuff and then just move on. And then if my agent calls me and tells me I got a part, then I'm like, oh, great. It's like, yeah, I don't really have anything that's just kind of killed me all these years and gone, I wish that I had done that,
Yeah, you've gotten to that point where you're just like, yeah, I did the big one that I want to do. Everything else now is just a bonus.
Yeah, kind of, for sure.
Man, I wish I had that. It's the opposite for me.
Well, you're probably younger than me too, right? So
yeah, I'm like 23, so
yeah, you're definitely younger than me. So that's coming. It's coming.
What do you enjoy the most about acting, and what do you dislike the most about it?
I like being another person, getting the opportunity to be another person and put myself in another person's shoes. I love that. The reason I'm an actor is because I love storytelling, and I like the energy flow between story, which is the most important aspect of any sort of thing like a play or a show or a cartoon or a movie. The story is what's important. So I like the synergy between story and storyteller, so I could put myself in the storyteller category because I'm playing a character within that story, so I'm helping impart the story to the audience, and that's the last sort of section of the thing that I like. I like that energetic kind of, the energy interchange between those three aspects of the story. That's what I love. The thing that's hard about acting sometimes is when you have 5 years where you don't make any money and you have to do a bunch of other things that you don't really like in order to support yourself so that you can keep trying and trying and trying to get a part. No. When I wasn't working as an actor for 5 years, I cooked at a breakfast restaurant, I nannied children, and I taught kids drama when I want to be an actor. So that are the things that I'm talking about that actually have nothing to do with acting. That
okay,
sometimes,
my bad.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's that's the kind of thing that is really hard about being an actor, is the not acting part. That's what's hard.
Yeah, I could see that. When you're so used to doing it as much as you can, there's that drought.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a lot of actors go through that in their careers at some point or other. Most the general public know that actors spend an awful lot of their time waitressing.
Really?
Yeah. Professional actors don't always make a living. You gotta find other ways to pay your bills in between gigs. I've been very lucky in my career. Other than that 5 years, I've supported myself by acting. So I'm certainly very lucky.
Since I know the Brony fandom absolutely loves and sometimes dislikes Gilda, if you were asked, say for season 5 or 6 to come back as Gilda, would you want to?
I'd always love to. Working is working to me. I like playing characters, and I like being in the studio with my fellow actors and working on a character. So sure, I'd love to come back and do stuff. So, I'd like to play kind of lots of different things. So no matter the project or the show, I'd be happy to do whatever someone offered me, for sure.
Last question. What tips would you give to anyone that's aspiring to get into voice acting?
One of the things that is helpful for someone you need a voice demo to get an agent. So you need to find out where the center of the kind of work that you want to do, so if you want to be working in voiceover, there's only kind of 3 or 4 places where you're actually going to be able to make a living doing voiceover. Cartoons are not produced all over the world. They're produced in certain centers, and in the U.S. and Canada, that's pretty much, Los Angeles, Vancouver, and Toronto. There's a little bit of work here and there. In New York, you can work quite a lot as a voice actor, but it's more advertising and narration type stuff, which is great. So, depending on where you want to focus. So you'd have to figure out where you want to be, where you want to live, where you want to try and make your mark. And then you want to get a demo together so that you can shop yourself around to agents in whatever city you're trying to focus yourself in, so that someone can hear the kinds of things that you can do and decide whether they want to represent you and try and get you some auditions so that you can get yourself work. And then if you're not, if things aren't moving along as quickly as you want, I would really recommend kind of what I was explaining earlier about how I got into VO is if you can take workshops with casting directors, you have to pay for them, except for, I said that I was lucky enough because I didn't have to pay for it because it was a gift to my agent from the casting directors, but you got to pay for a casting director workshop, but they're valuable. Because if a casting director sees you in a workshop setting and there's something about you that they like, they will call you in for auditions. It's a good way to get in the door. That's kind of what I would recommend doing. And as a voice actor, a lot of the times the people that do the best at voiceover have a pretty extensive theater background. So the more you can get up on that stage, the more you can, if it's in high school, if it's in community theater, if it's professionally in professional theater, it gives you a really good grounding for voiceover. There's just something complimentary about theater performers who transition into voiceover. A lot of people will tell you that their background is pretty extensive in theater. Not everyone, of course, but quite a few people make that transition really well. So get out there, just practice. Practice. One of the reasons that working voiceover actors are so good is because they get the opportunity however many times a week or month, depending on how busy it is in town, is because they're always doing it. They're always practicing. So practice. Get together with a bunch of friends and read scripts. Get a mic in your house and play around. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can play on your iPhone and listen back to what you've done. Practice. That's what will really kind of push you forward.
Yeah, and in the end, I would think also having fun with it is crucial.
Oh my God, yeah. Quite honestly, I tell people this all the time. I do a little bit of teaching, and I teach the odd workshop, and I tell people, if you'd rather do something else, please do so. This career is too hard to do it when you could think of something else that you could be doing. Only act if you have to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That's, love what you do, and it'll keep you. Be professional. Be reliable. Take direction well. Show up on time. Have read your script, or however you prepare. However you prepare to be your best, do that. And what happens is sometimes is that when you are that person who's reliable, when you are that person who's professional, when you are that person who's never late, you're going to get the role over somebody else that's not very professional.
I would think that. I mean, there's always going to be somebody better than you. That's the kind of mindset that some people have to realize. You may be good, but sometimes there are people that are more qualified or better.
There's a ton of people who are better than me, that's for sure. And some of them, a lot of them live right in this city. So, you have to be realistic with yourself about what you can do well, and what you need to work on. It doesn't mean beat yourself up and say to yourself, oh my God, I suck. But know what you're good at and display that, and the things that you're not as good at, then work on them. And when they're ready to be shown to other people, then do it. This career takes a lot of self-perspective. You gotta be aware of yourself and how you fit in and how you stack up compared to other people, because you are competing with people for work. And if you can't cut it, then you gotta be realistic with yourself.
That makes sense to me.
I'm glad. I'm afraid I ramble all the time, so I'm glad.
No, that is quite all right. I think we have gotten to a fairly good place to stop.
Awesome.
All right, so...
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. People who are watching or listening, please go ahead and, check out her Twitter. I believe, yeah, you have a Twitter. That's how we first contacted one another.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm just Maryke Hendrikse on Twitter, and if you want to come and see us, I'm going to be at BabsCon in April, and I will be at in Richmond, here in the greater Vancouver area for the convention that we have here in Vancouver, BronyCon.
Yeah.
So I'll be at those conventions, so if you want to say hello, I'd like to see you.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe to all my my stuff. Check out the links in the description. And if I may ask to properly end this, would you end us with something from Gilda and Sonata?
Well, I'll do everybody's favorite, like, little... I hope I get it right. I'm always like, we don't memorize our lines. So sometimes when I'm at conventions and people say, do a line, I think to myself, oh my God, I hope I do this right. Because, because I didn't memorize it. So Sonata says something along the lines of, can you hear the chip bag in the background? That's my husband crinkling his chips.
Just a little bit. It's all right.
He's looking all sheepish. So Sonata says, but we can get lunch after, right? It's Taco Tuesday.
I would say that's right.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and then if Gilda heard her saying something like that, she'd probably say something like, why don't you make like a bee and buzz off? I don't think Sonata and Gilda would get along very well.
No, not at all. I could already picture like a sitcom between them. But yeah, thank you once again.
You're welcome, Zach.
For this huge opportunity. And yeah, everybody watching, stay awesome.